Welcome to Little Lantern Wisdom. I'm Emily. I'm really glad you're here today. I've been thinking about a pattern that shows up in some narcissistic relationships, what it feels like to be kept nearby, but never fully chosen. So come sit with me for a few minutes. Let's talk about it calmly, without judgment and without fear. It rarely begins with something obvious. There is no dramatic declaration, no clear warning. Instead, it often starts with warmth and attention that feels comforting and sincere. You may feel chosen in small moments, late-night conversations, thoughtful check-ins, a sense of emotional closeness that seems meaningful. But over time, something unsettled begins to surface beneath that warmth. You feel important, yet never fully secure. If that quiet tension has been sitting in your chest, let's gently explore a few patterns that sometimes appear when someone is being kept close, but not truly chosen. One pattern you may notice is timing that revolves almost entirely around their needs. They tend to reach out when they are lonely, overwhelmed, bored, or craving reassurance. In those moments, you become the steady voice, the calm presence, the emotional anchor. But when their world feels balanced again, their attention softens or disappears. You are central during their crisis and peripheral during their calm. Over time, you may find yourself arranging your emotional availability around their fluctuations, responding quickly when they appear and quietly absorbing the silence when they retreat. Another pattern is intimacy without commitment. They may share deeply personal stories, confide in you about their fears or past wounds, and create moments that feel emotionally significant. Yet when the conversation shifts toward clarity, toward defining the relationship or building something stable, they pull back. There is often a gentle deflection. It's not the right time, or let's not complicate what we have. You remain emotionally close but structurally undefined. You are trusted enough to provide comfort, but not prioritized enough to feel secure. That in-between space can be more draining than outright rejection. You may also notice a persistent pattern of confusion. Healthy connection tends to feel steady and predictable in its care. This dynamic, however, feels like something you are constantly trying to decode. One day, they are attentive and affectionate. The next, distant or distracted without explanation. You might replay conversations in your mind, reread messages, or question whether you did something wrong. Instead of evaluating the inconsistency, you evaluate yourself. Confusion becomes familiar, and steadiness begins to feel like something you must earn rather than something freely given. There is often a pattern of emotional imbalance as well. When they are struggling, you listen carefully and offer reassurance. When they doubt themselves, you provide encouragement. But when you are overwhelmed or vulnerable, their presence thins. They may seem distracted, minimize your concerns, or redirect the conversation back to their own experience. Over time, you may stop reaching out for support altogether, not because you do not need it, but because you have learned that your role is to give rather than receive. Another pattern appears in the form of promises that remain suspended in the future. There is talk of eventually, eventually being more present, eventually defining things, eventually stepping up. The tone may sound sincere, and the words may offer comfort in the moment, but the present reality remains unchanged. You begin investing in who they could become instead of who they consistently are. Waiting slowly becomes the emotional center of the relationship, and hope stretches itself thin, trying to bridge the gap between words and action. You may also notice that when you create distance, their attention suddenly intensifies. More messages arrive. There is renewed warmth, perhaps even affection. It can feel validating, as though your importance has finally been recognized. Yet once you lean back in, the pattern resumes. This push and pull can be mistaken for passion, but often it reflects a desire to maintain access rather than build partnership. The connection remains reactive rather than secure. Finally, there is often a quiet pattern of waiting. You tell yourself that things will change once circumstances improve, once they heal, once timing aligns. You hold on to glimpses of who they can be in their most attentive moments. But if you have been waiting for a long time, it may not be patience, it may be attachment to possibility. And living inside possibility instead of reality slowly erodes your sense of being fully valued. Being someone's emotional backup does not mean you are foolish or naive. It often means you are empathetic, loyal, and emotionally available, qualities that are deeply beautiful. However, when those qualities are met with inconsistency and withholding, they begin to wound rather than nourish. In relationships with narcissistic patterns, attention can feel powerful precisely because it is intermittent. Unpredictability intensifies attachment, while clarity can feel threatening to the dynamic. If any of these patterns feel familiar, this is not an invitation to shame yourself. It is an invitation to notice. You deserve steadiness. You deserve mutual effort. And you deserve a connection where you are chosen consistently, not kept nearby for emotional convenience. Until next time, I'll keep the lantern lit for you.